Hi everyone, I'm John Maxey, and today I'm joined by Mr. Michaels, and we're going to talk about mediation. How are you doing, Mr. Michaels?
Good, John. Thank you.
All right. So can you just start off by telling me what is mediation?
Sure. Mediation is an alternative um, that we have when students are involved in some sort of dispute, whether it be verbal or physical. And essentially, it's a contract that we have students agree on to allow them to coexist in the building. They don't have to be best friends, but they do have to be able to get along, be respectful of each other, and be able to be in the same areas together without there being any controversy or any conflict.
Okay. Now, how does a student get the option of having mediation or being involved in it?
Well, the referrals for mediation can occur in a number of ways. Teachers, from time to time, will see some students who have conflict, perhaps in the classroom, sometimes in the hallway, and they'll let me know that they've witnessed some behaviors. Our security staff is very diligent in recognizing when there's things going on with students that may need to be mediated. And then also students themselves are able to come to me and say that they're having problems with other students and that they'd like to resolve the conflict without it getting into a physical altercation, which of course we all know leads to major consequences here in the school.
So are all students involved behavioral problems eligible for mediation, or just students that the staff thinks would benefit most from it?
Anyone is eligible for mediation, and we encourage any students. We want to start a campaign later this month to start advertise and market our mediation process so that students do know it's available. We want to do it before there's any conflict or before the conflict escalates rather than afterwards, after a fight or an incident like that.
That's a great idea. Now, you started off by talking there's the actual process of mediation, but what are the different steps involved when you're sitting down with the student?
Okay, what we do is we bring the students in, and again, it's not it's a voluntary situation, so we don't force the mediation. We encourage it highly, and what happens is we have the students agree on three very simple things. Number one is that once we leave this room, we will not speak negatively to or about each other. So you don't say anything negative to me or about me. I won't say anything negative to you or about you, and that includes any kind of social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, anything that may continue some sort of conflict between students. The second thing is that we think this is really important, is that students don't feed into any third-party information. Quote unquote, he said, she said. Sometimes students will say, well, I heard this and I heard that, and then when you are given that information, you have a tendency to react on that in a negative way instead of just ignoring it and realizing that, hey, it didn't come from the primary source, so I'm not going to deal with it.
All right. Now, who's actually involved with the sit-down of mediation?
The mediation are conducted by me. I have the students that are involved, and we do them one-on-one, so we avoid multiple students being involved. We found that just one-on-one mediations are the best way to go. And then also I have a witness with me. Typically, Mr. Ward has been very helpful and is a great co-mediator and witness to the mediations.
Is there a... I'm sorry.
I just wanted to let you know that the third phase after not feeding into the he said, she said, is that if you feel like you're going to be in a conflict, if you do hear something and you're upset about it, rather than engage that other person, go to an adult in the building. You can come to me, you can go to security, a vice principal, you can go to your teacher, you can tell a parent at home, but let someone know that, hey, I'm in a bad spot here and I need some help.
Okay. Now, at the end of the sit-down, is there a contract or a promise made between the two students and the actual mediators?
I have the contract here in front of me where it's a binding signature, we feel, and we explain to the students that, don't sign it if you don't mean it. Your signature means something just like your word means something. So in signing the contract, we expect that you're going to adhere to those three very simple rules that will allow you to, again, coexist in the building without there being any conflicts.
All right. Now, are parents involved in any way? Did they come in for the mediation, or it's more just a contact?
It's a great question. We don't involve them in the mediation. Uh, we feel like as high schoolers, we should be able to sit down with a couple adults and be able to agree on three simple things. But we do notify the parents that the students are participating in the mediation, and usually it's a very positive phone call that I'm able to make and let the parents know, hey, your son or daughter showed a lot of maturity. Were able to sit down, agree on three simple things that will allow them to just keep moving forward.
All right, to follow up on that, you just said they're making a mature option. Why should students go this route, instead of just taking the referral or the suspension?
Well, again, to me it's a life lesson. We're high school students now, but then we're going to be college students, and then we're going to be citizens. And there will always be situations or invitations to conflict. So finding ways to resolve conflict rather than being physical or being in a verbal altercation is a lifelong skill. So it's something that I feel if we can learn it at the high school level, it will stay with us, for the rest of our lives, and really avoid a lot of stress and conflict in our life. In addition to that, we have stiff consequences for people who are in physical altercations here in our building. It's a 3-day out-of-school suspension. It's a principal's hearing where your parents have to come in and meet with the assistant principal, and then there's a warning that we have a 2-fight policy in this district, whereas if you're involved in 2 fights throughout the school year, it typically is a recommendation for expulsion. So rather than go through all of that, in addition, a serious incident report is submitted to Officer Shepard from West Norton Township, and he has the option to write a citation or assign community service or aggression replacement training or something that's going to cause the student to be uncomfortable for a little bit. So we think rather than go through all that, mediation is such a better process, and we found that a lot of times when students do it, they actually have down the road been okay with each other, maybe not best friends, but hi, bye, and we're able to coexist.
I really like that idea of, it not just being for high school and then to deal with each other, but it's a life lesson too.
It is.
Now, you just talked about, the students be able to deal with each other again, see each other in the hallway. Is that the end goal?
It is. It is for them to be able to leave this room and say, okay, we've already seen each other face to face. We know we're going to see each other again, and we discuss that. We discuss, people may try to, we call spice the situation a little and say, oh, well, what are you going to do when you see him? Are you going to say something to him? Well, we've already covered that. We've already seen each other in the mediation, so there's not going to be that awkward moment when we, see each other in the hallway or in the classroom or wherever it is.
Now, if mediation doesn't work out, students don't choose to take advantage of it, what's the next discipline step?
Well, again, parents are always notified that, we feel that there's conflict, that we've tried to address it from the school side. And if students continue to be in conflict with each other, then we apply the discipline code where necessary. And there's, a plethora of things in there from jeopardizing the safety of self and others. There's, harassment. There's all kind of negative things that have consequences attached to them that we're really trying to avoid.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
No, just that I think mediation is a great opportunity. To date, we've conducted 36 mediations, and all of which I think have been pretty successful. So although sometimes students I think might feel though it's corny or it's something that that won't work because it's just the signature, it's more than that. It's about trying to build a relationship where, again, we don't have to be friends, but we can be respectful and mature enough to just go about our business and get our educations, which we're all here for.
All right, that's great news about the success rate so far. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks, John.
I'm John Maxey, and I just talked to Mr. Michaels about a great new option here at the high school called Mediation. Students should definitely take advantage of it. Now back to the Eagle's Eye.